Are you in contact with children who are going through or may have some difficulties within the integration stage? Then this video is for you.
So the stage which we will look at today is the integration stage, and this stage takes place around 12 to 18 years old, and it is really about the child becoming an adult, so moving from kind of adolescence to adulthood. The main characteristic of this stage is that the young person goes through all of the stages previously. So again, the being, the doing, the thinking, the identity, the skills and integration stages, but at twice the speed. And from my point of view, I believe that there are two key stimulus that really dictate how the child recycles through these stages of development. I believe social standing and sex have a really, really important effect on the child within this stage. So some of the developmental tasks which are associated with the integration stages, it's really important for the child to begin to take steps towards independence. So again, as I said previously, they're moving from adolescence to adulthood. So things like beginning to walk to school by themselves, managing their self-care where appropriate without, the constant pressure from mum and dad. And for me, it also comes out with a real motivation for education. So again, when they are young, there is a real push from the parents to kind of be on the child's back to make sure that they're doing their homework. And the hope is that once they begin to get older, the child sees the benefit of education and so doesn't need to depend on the motivation of their parents anymore, but begins to self-motivate as the individual has their own dreams and reason to complete homework and pursue education further. It's also important for the young person to emerge as a separate, independent person with their own identity and values. So again, through going through all of the stages, it's really important for the child to really start to grapple with who they want to be and what values they really want to hold on. So not the values of mom or dad or the values that they've been told, but what things do they really want to hold true in their heart, and who do they really, really want to show up as, irrespective of the influences and opinions of others. It's also important for the child to become competent and responsible for their own needs, feelings, and behaviours. So as the child hits this stage and begins to grow up, the child really begins to understand that their feelings are their responsibility. So i.e. no one can make me feel angry or happy, and it's about them really taking ownership of that. And in terms of behaviour within this stage, the child really starts to understand that they are in control of their behavior, and because they recognize the power that they have within controlling themselves, they are able to take full responsibility and not pass blame onto other individuals. And the last job which we will talk about is the child begins to integrate sexuality into the early developmental tasks. And really what I mean by that is, if we're looking at, for instance, the being stage, the child has a strong desire for contact, i.e. touch. And again, within the integration stage, that desire becomes aroused by the opposite sex. So for instance, it could be dating, it could be hugs, it could be holding hands. And again, going through identity, there is a desire to look good and have an appearance which fits in with my social circle and with those in which I am trying to attract as well. So some behaviours which may be an indication that a child is having some difficulties within this area is, firstly, you may be in contact with a child that really has poor self-care. And I'm not just talking about physically, but I'm also talking about emotionally and socially. And this can sometimes arise when the child didn't have the opportunity to learn how to take responsibility for their needs, feelings, and behaviours. So the child's first thought is never about themselves, which can often lead them into dangerous situations or can leave them really open to negativity from other people. And the last behaviour is a young person that really has some difficulties completing tasks independently. So for me, I see this arising if a young person did not have the opportunity to really separate themselves and have their own identity and values. They may find it really difficult to complete things without having to check in with other people to find out if they're doing the right thing, or if their values are right, or if their identity is right. So again, I'm not just talking about a young person that finds work difficult. I'm also talking about young people who feel that they need to constantly, throughout a task or a activity, check in to find out if they're doing something right, as they have not developed the awareness of the resources which they contain. So yeah, that's it for today's video, guys. And in our next video, we will be having a look at young people who display poor self-care. And as always, we're going to be having a couple of innovative tips and strategies which any person can use. So yeah, thank you very much, guys, for taking time to listen to this video. If you have liked the content, please give it a like and subscribe. And as always, I will see you next week.